Good evening. It's Tuesday, the 22nd of July, and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Peace talks. Zelenskiy announces Ukraine-Russia peace negotiations scheduled for Wednesday amid ongoing conflict. Cyber attack. Microsoft SharePoint servers hacked, impacting around 100 organizations in US and Germany. Entertainment show. Discovery's Dancing with Sharks challenges contestants to dance with live sharks on new show.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Selina Jayathilaka.
Good evening once again. Peace talks between Ukraine and Russia are set for Wednesday in Turkey, their first in 7 weeks. This comes as both sides exchange deadly drone and missile attacks with civilians killed and chaos repeated in Kiev and Moscow amid escalating violence.
Peace talks between Ukraine and Russia are planned for Wednesday in Turkey. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskiy quoted a senior Kyiv official as saying on Monday, it would be the first such talks in 7 weeks. The Kremlin said it was waiting for an understanding on the date of the talks, but acknowledged that the two sides were diametrically opposed in their positions on how to end the war. Putin, who is under increasing pressure from US President Donald Trump to show progress towards ending the conflict, turned down a previous challenge from Zelenskiy to meet him in person. Nearly 3.5 years after Russia began its full-scale invasion, the war in Ukraine is showing no sign of abating. Russia attacked Ukraine with missiles and hundreds of drones overnight, killing 2 people and wounding 15, Zelensky said on Monday. Explosions lit up the night sky, and the high-pitched whine of drone engines reverberated through Kyiv. People sheltering in one of Kyiv's metro stations choked on dust after a strike caused damage to the entrance. Ukraine's Air Force said the attack involved the launch of over 400 drones and 24 missiles, with 23 drones hitting their target across Ukraine. Russian media said Ukraine carried out drone attacks, causing chaos at airports serving Moscow on Monday. Thousands of passengers waited in line or slept on the ground after flights were cancelled or delayed. Russia's defense ministry said it had downed over 100 Ukrainian drones overnight, including 30 over the Moscow region.
In China's Gansu province, an official probe has revealed a shocking cover-up involving toxic food served at a kindergarten. Hundreds of children were poisoned, with officials falsifying test results and accepting bribes. Now, arrests and disciplinary actions are underway.
A devastating scandal has unfolded in Tianshui, a city in China's northwestern Gansu province, where at least 235 children from Pixin kindergarten were diagnosed with lead poisoning after consuming contaminated food. The case gained national attention earlier in the month when students began exhibiting symptoms, prompting the Gansu Provincial Center for Disease Control and Prevention to initiate tests. However, a newly released government report has confirmed that dozens of city and hospital officials attempted to conceal the incident. The food, reportedly made more visually appealing with inedible paint, contained lead levels up to 2,000 times higher than national safety standards. The tainted snacks, specifically steamed red date cakes and sausage corn buns, were served to children in an effort to boost the school's enrollment numbers, according to the investigation. The scope of the cover-up is staggering. Officials not only neglected food safety inspections across multiple preschools, but also tampered with the blood test results of the poisoned children to minimize perceived health risks. The investigation revealed that staff from Tianshui No. 2 People's Hospital failed to follow proper medical procedures, which further distorted the findings. At least 8 individuals were initially detained, including Pixin's principal, cooks, and an investor, 6 of whom are now formally arrested. In total, 10 government officials will undergo formal accounting procedures, while 17 others face disciplinary investigations. This probe also highlighted corruption, revealing that city officials accepted bribes from the school's investor to overlook serious safety violations. Public outcry has surged online, with many Chinese citizens demanding greater accountability and transparency in the handling of food safety violations. In response to mounting pressure, authorities have taken swift action to restore public trust. The central government was praised for its rapid response, including the formation of an expert panel to address procedural failings. New national food safety guidelines have been announced, requiring every batch of campus food to undergo mandatory testing and stipulating that staples like rice and oil must be procured through centralized, regulated channels. Locally, Tianshui authorities have pledged free treatment for all affected children and designated hospitals, along with legal support for impacted families. Patient kindergarten will be placed under temporary state management while the investigation continues. While 234 of the affected children have been discharged, the incident underscores the need for structural reform in school food safety oversight and stronger enforcement to prevent similar tragedies in the future.
In Pakistan's Balochistan province, outrage is growing after a video showing the brutal killing of a couple went viral. Authorities have arrested 13 people, including a tribal chief, amid calls to end honor killings and systematic violence against women in the region.
The brutal killing of Bano Bibi and her husband Ishan Ulta has reignited a national conversation on honor-based violence and tribal justice in Pakistan. The couple, allegedly killed in May near Quetta, were reportedly executed on the orders of a tribal leader after being accused of having an immoral relationship. A shocking video of the murders, which surfaced online, went viral, shows a pair being gunned down by armed men in a barren, remote location, while bystanders issued commands and continued to fire at their lifeless bodies. The footage has sparked nationwide condemnation and renewed scrutiny of the persistence of honor killings in parts of South Asia, especially in rural Pakistan and India, where such acts often go unreported and unpunished. Following the outcry, Pakistani authorities have arrested at least 13 individuals, including local tribal chief Sardar Shahbaz Khan. Police have identified 8 named suspects and listed 15 more unidentified individuals believed to have participated in the killing. One of the key suspects, Bano's brother, remains at large and is suspected of orchestrating the murders. According to the first information report, the couple was brought before the tribal leader, who ordered their execution. Despite over 547 reported cases of honor killings in Pakistan last year, according to the Sustainable Social Development Organization, the only single conviction occurred in Balochistan. Rights groups argue that systemic impunity and state complicity allow such atrocities to persist, with tribal power structures shielding perpetrators from legal consequences. Human rights defenders and women's advocates say the murders are part of a broader entrenched pattern of violence and repression in Balochistan. Haris Khalik, the General Secretary of the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, called the killings a continuation of medieval tyranny, pointing to the state's failure to dismantle feudal power networks. Activist Samideen Balok went further, stating that women in the province are subjected to intersecting forms of violence by both patriarchal tribal systems and the state itself. Critics argue that the Pakistani state strategy of outsourcing governance to feudal intermediates perpetuates a system where women's lives are disposable, dissent is criminalized, and democratic reforms remain elusive.
North Korea has begun construction on a new 5,000-ton Choi Hyun-class destroyer, aiming for completion by October 10, 2026, Workers' Party Foundation Day. It marks Pyongyang's third such vessel as the regime ramps up efforts to expand its naval capabilities.
According to the North Korean Central News Agency on Tuesday, employees at the Nampo shipyard held an event on Monday to mark the construction of what will be the regime's third 5,000-ton naval destroyer. October 10th was reportedly chosen as its completion date, as it is the anniversary of the founding of the North Korean Workers' Party. North Korea continues to step up efforts to strengthen its naval power, unveiling its first new type destroyer in April. A month later, it attempted to launch a second destroyer in the same class, but the ship capsized during the launching ceremony.
It's going for a short commercial break. More world news coming right after this. Welcome back. At Chile's La Moneda Palace, world leaders gathered for the Democracy Forever Summit yesterday, focusing on climate change, AI, peace, and global cooperation. Key figures from Latin America and Europe called for unity against threats to democracy and multilateralism.
Held against the backdrop of rising global instability, the Democracy Forever Summit brought together a coalition of progressive leaders in Santiago, Chile, to address pressing international challenges. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, Colombian President Gustavo Petro, Uruguayan President Yamadou Orsi, and Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez joined Chilean President Gabriel Boric to champion a renewed commitment to democratic governance and multilateral cooperation. The summit's agenda reflected the intersection of urgent global priorities, the climate crisis, the rapid evolution of artificial intelligence, and ongoing threats to peace and democratic institutions. In a strongly worded joint statement, the leaders called for intensified cooperation among like-minded nations to resist what they termed a reactionary international force, undermining democratic norms and global institutions. This message was underscored during a press conference in which participants emphasized the need for collective resilience in the face of growing authoritarianism, disinformation, and weakened global frameworks. Their message resonated as democratic backsliding has become a global concern, from the erosion of press freedoms to the politicization of judiciary systems across various regions. President Gabriel Boric, the summit's host, revealed that additional leaders would join the initiative when it reconvenes in September at the United Nations General Assembly. Among the anticipated participants are Mexico's new President Claudia Sheinbaum, Honduras's Xiomara Castro, and the United Kingdom's Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Their inclusion marks an expansion of the summit's influence and signal of growing international momentum for a unified democratic front. As global politics grow increasingly polarized, the Democracy Forever coalition positions itself as a counterforce rooted in inclusion, sustainability, and multilateral reform.
A major cyber espionage campaign has targeted Microsoft's SharePoint servers, compromising around 100 organizations, mostly in the US and Germany. Experts say government agencies and corporations are among the victims as Microsoft urges urgent updates to counter ongoing active hacking threats.
A sweeping cyber espionage operation took aim at Microsoft's SharePoint servers and compromised about 100 different organizations. That's according to two of the firms that helped uncover the attack. As of Monday, the victims had not been disclosed, but most of the entities were in the US and Germany and included government organizations. Microsoft on Saturday issued an alert about active attacks on its SharePoint servers, which are widely used by companies to share documents and collaborate internally. In a statement, Microsoft said it had, quote, provided security updates and encourages customers to install them. One cybersecurity researcher said that so far, the spying appeared to be the work of a single hacker or set of hackers. The pool of potential targets remains vast. According to data from Shodan, a search engine that helps to identify internet-linked equipment, over 8,000 servers online may have already been compromised by hackers. Those servers include major industrial firms, banks, auditors, healthcare companies, and several U.S. state-level and international government entities.
Harvard University has asked a federal judge to reinstate $2.5 billion in canceled research grants, challenging the Trump administration's move to cut funding. The university argues the action threatens academic freedom and undermines critical scientific and medical research nationwide.
Protesters gathered outside a Boston courthouse on Monday as Harvard University urged a federal judge to order the Trump administration to restore about $2.5 billion in canceled funding to the Ivy League school. Harvard says hundreds of research projects, including ones concerning cancer treatments, infectious diseases, and Parkinson's disease, will be in jeopardy unless the judge declares the grant cancellations unlawful. The court hearing before U.S. District Judge Allison Burroughs lasted more than 2 hours, but ended without a ruling. A lawyer for the Trump administration told the judge the canceled grants reflect a government priority not to send money to institutions that practice anti-Semitism. A lawyer for Harvard said the government has made wholesale cuts to research under the guise of combating anti-Semitism, but hasn't identified any connection between the two. Harvard has become a central focus of a broad campaign by the Trump administration to leverage federal funding to force change at U.S. universities, which Trump says are gripped by radical left ideologies. Judge Burroughs said she had problems with the government's argument that it can terminate Harvard's federal funding grants for any policy reasons, saying the consequences in terms of constitutional law would be, quote, staggering.
Amid rising drug-related violence in southern France, local mayors have imposed curfews to protect minors increasingly targeted by traffickers. The measures aim to curb nighttime unrest and prevent youth exploitation as authorities struggle to contain growing urban crime networks.
The remnants of an ambush in Béziers. On Saturday night, some 50 youths launched pyrotechnic shells and fireworks directly at police officers and firefighters. They'd been called in to put out trash bin blazes. One officer was wounded, and an apartment went up in flames from a stray pyrotechnic mortar fire. For the public prosecutor, such violence was a response to local police after they made a series of drug trafficking arrests and busts in this rough neighborhood of Béziers. Increasingly, a climate of fear and violence reigns in certain poorer neighborhoods in southern cities, but also throughout France. One's limited to larger cities like Marseille, smaller ones, such as Béziers, Nîmes, Avignon, and Limoges, have felt an uptick in violence from drug trafficking. And organized crime groups are increasingly hiring children and teens as dealers and lookouts. Sometimes they're as young as 10 years old, like this little boy who's paid to warn dealers that the police have arrived. A number of French cities like Nîmes and Carpentras are rolling out curfews for minors. While not a long-term solution, for many in the police it is a necessary step.
It's keeping kids away. For me, a child needs to be with his parents, and this avoids a spiraling into delinquency.
But do curfews really work to keep French youths from slipping into drug trafficking, especially now that they're often recruited online and in large numbers?
What's changed is the scope of the drug trafficking. It's across the nation and not just in the projects of big cities.
According to the French interministerial body against drugs and addiction, 61% of those arrested for drug-related crimes were between the ages of 15 and 25 years old. And the French Interior Ministry said that there are currently some 10,000 French minors involved with drug trafficking in France.
Time for a short break now. We'll be right back with more world news. Welcome back. Discovery's latest reality hit, Dancing with Sharks, plunges elite performers into underwater routines with live sharks. Blending dance, danger, and showmanship, the series pushes contestants to display rhythm and survival skills, hosted by veteran TV personality Tom Bergeron.
You've never seen a Shark Week like this. The popular TV event on Discovery comes with a new twist this year, Dancing with Sharks. And it's exactly what it sounds like. Yep, the fearsome sea creatures apparently can dance, given the right set of circumstances and a willing partner. And who better to host Dancing with Sharks than this guy?
I'm Tom Bergeron, and this is Shark Week's Dancing with Sharks.
It's Tom Bergeron, the former host of Dancing with the Stars.
Welcome, I'm Tom Bergeron.
In the new show,
contestants need rhythm, shark handling abilities, and excellent survival skills because, sharks.
Just like the land-based version, judges rate the performers.
You are a hot dance machine.
I'm not going to take points away because you were dancing with sharks.
Shark Week also features these three best friends who went parasailing in Florida and realized they were over shark-infested water.
Star! Don't dip us! Star!
They absolutely lose it when their feet hit the water.
Sharks are all right here!
Fortunately, they all made it safely out of the water.
Everywhere!
In Northern California, a sustainable vineyard is harnessing wind energy to power its winemaking operations. For the past 8 years, this eco-friendly approach has reduced emissions and inspired a greener path forward in the heart of wine country.
Off the coast of California, near Monterey, clusters of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay grapes ripen in the cooling fog, warming sun, and perfect soil. But at Scheid Family Vineyards, an extra element plays a vital role in their award-winning wines. It's something in the air.
Wind power. It's extremely windy here. The winds are very dependable. They can sometimes blow 24 hours a day.
For the past 8 years, harnessing that wind, a 400-foot-tall wind turbine. It generates 100% of the power needed to run Scheid's state-of-the-art winery and bottling operations.
So it's a lot of power, and the good thing is that our turbine is able to handle all that power.
It is immense.
Heidi Scheid is the executive vice president of Scheid Family Wines.
It's a Sustainability has been one of our core values since our family founded this business in 1972.
Scheid produces 900,000 cases of wine a year, markets 10 global brands as well as private label brands, and farms 2,500 acres of vineyards.
We grow quite a few different varietals. We actually grow 36 different varietals.
Heidi's late father, Al, founded the company more than 50 years ago as a grape grower. He was green from the get-go.
It was just always important to him.
Cellar master George Zavala says the juice provided by the wind is critical for their juice.
We're filtering our Chardonnay right now, and this will be bottled in the next 2 days.
The clean energy generated by the wind turbine is the equivalent to taking almost 4,500 gas-guzzling cars off the road for an entire year. It also powers 234 local homes.
We're really only using half of what we need to power it. The rest of the wind power generated actually goes back onto the grid.
The winds of change bearing fruit.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Selena Jayathilaka. And we leave you tonight with the visuals of a Somali artist inspiring youth to transform Mogadishu. Also, don't forget to send us your feedback through email at feedback.ad24english@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. Anuradha Vikramasinghe will be joining you next with the Nightly Business Report. Thank you for watching and have a great night.